Все, мы в эфире. Эфир начинается. Сейчас люди подтянутся. Всем привет. Здесь Джастин, JannLee, Марвонг, Дюшес вместо Фумитокса сегодня, и я, Зараза. Сегодня мы позвали в гости всем известного игрока в Crazyhouse, JannLee. Это легенда просто Crazyhouse, который очень много сил, времени и средств вложил в развитие этой игры, в которую мы все безумно влюблены. Вот, и сегодня я хочу поговорить и о самом Джастине, и о психологии Crazyhouse. Я думаю, стрим будет интересный. Давайте каждый поприветствуем, пока народ собирается, поболтаем.
Итак, всем привет, я Марвон Си, как Зараза уже сказала. Hello everyone, my name's Marlon C. I'm going to be doing my best to speak in both English and Russian today, not at the same time obviously. And we will be looking a little bit. Okay, we always got our first comment from Crazy Maharaja in World ZH. Hello everyone, friends. Lovely. There is apparently a slight delay on the Twitch stream, so hopefully that won't cause any technical problems. But yeah, should be good to get up close and personal with JannLee.
Всем привет. Было приятно получить приглашение в последний момент. Я тоже буду стараться переводить с русского на английский, с английского на русский по мере возможности. Очень приятно познакомиться с Джастином. Hello everyone. I will try to translate as well, from English to Russian, from Russian to English. It was a great pleasure to be here and to meet Justin. So very nice to meet you, Justin.
Okay, it's very nice. I can't open in Russian because unfortunately I don't speak it, but nice to be here with all of you. I've been away off screen for quite some time. Life's just been very busy. So thanks to Zaraza for reaching out to pull me out of the cave, so to speak. She's, asked for some photos and an opportunity to ask questions, and I've said, ask anything. So nice to meet Duches for the first time as well. Marlon and Zaraza I've met before. So yeah, hopefully it's fun and interesting. Welcome everyone.
Окей. Так, я хочу начать наш стрим с вопросов. Я опросила 8 игроков из мира Crazyhouse, которые задали по одному вопросу для Джастина, не связанными с шахматами. Это было очень тяжело для игроков абстрагироваться от темы шахмат и придумать что-то, что не связано с шахматами. Это было очень для них сложно. Переведите, пожалуйста, Джастину.
Okay, so there's a bunch of players from the world of Crazyhouse who have chosen questions unrelated to the game, which was far from easy for them. So we're going to see how you do with these. That's all right.
All right, sounds like fun. Okay.
Yeah. Джастин, выбери, пожалуйста, первого игрока, от которого ты хочешь услышать вопрос в любом порядке. Вот кто первый будет?
Okay, pick who's first, basically.
Oh, questions from... All right, I'll start with Clearcast at the top left.
Так,
Sure.
Clearcast, да? Окей. Clearcast у нас задал вопрос. One moment. Какое сумчатое животное было бы вашим духовным животным?
What Clearcast asks is, if you had to choose, which marsupial would be your spirit animal?
It's probably going to be a possum, actually. And yeah, it'll be relevant in one of the photos perhaps that we show later, but when I was a kid, we grew up with possums around the house, possibly in the house as well. So the house I lived in is right next to the bush where there's trees, and yeah, we kind of respectfully think that they were on the land first before us. But yeah, it's you know, the house wasn't entirely closed off in parts, so sometimes I'd go to bed at night and I'd hear possums in the roof. So I've always had possums around, and not afraid of them, and yeah, it's just endearing, I suppose, that yeah, I'd be a possum.
Это будет опоссум. Джастин жил в доме, в котором жило семейство опоссумов. Они скакали по крышам.
Обалдеть.
Но, к сожалению, я больше не могу запомнить, что было еще. Очень интересная история с счастливым концом.
Хорошо.
Ну, в принципе, он жил в месте, где это был рядом с натур, лес, где жили животные, и как вопрос уважения, они был там первый, и так надо было спокойно, когда они были не рядом, только, но тоже внутри дома, даже внутри крыши.
Обалдеть. Так.
И слышно.
Ага. При этом я каждого из игрока, каждому из 8 этих игроков задала вопрос, ассоциацию. И Клиркаст сказал, я спросила, с каким городом ассоциируется у Клиркаста JannLee. Он ответил, что это город Гронинген.
Okay, so there was a further question about association, and Clearcast was asked which city he associates you with, Jan, if I correctly understand, and his answer was Groningen.
Так,
so I don't think you have to respond to that.
No, I apologize. I'm not familiar with the city. Is that a city in his country?
Yeah, it's in the Netherlands. It's where he studies, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Следующий, кого выбирает Джастин?
Okay, please make your next choice.
Okay. We'll go with Zixon next, actually.
Зиксон, окей. Так, Зиксон у нас спросил, какое ваше любимое воспоминание о том, как вы поехали в Нью-Йорк?
Okay, Zixon's question is, if you think back to when you went to New York, what's your favorite memory?
Yeah, playing Buckhouse, basically.
Buckhouse?
So, let me make the context here. It was this was before. Let me remember. It may be before even Bella was Bella born yet. I'm just trying to remember which trip this was. My wife has a sister who lived in America. At the time, I think she was in Minneapolis, possibly relocating to Chicago, and so we kind of, jumped around a few major cities. One of them was New York, and of course, that being my first time ever to America, I reached out to some of the guys I'd known for, many years on freechess.org. We played Buckhouse together. I said, who's around New York, or who could we possibly get together there for, just to play some Buckhouse? And I had to try to figure out a venue. Unfortunately, there was this kind of little chess village shop which had, a number of boards, and I think you could sit down for $1 an hour or something to play. And we thought we'd meet up there, so I got to meet who are the names? Chicken Crossroad, Cran, Ecar, Messiemi, IMG, NYCE, of course, Chuck Moulton. Cannot forget Chuck Moulton. He is the biggest bughouse addict ever. And so, yeah, maybe Zixon, who is known as Firefly to us, maybe he's referring to, is there something memorable within the bughouse gatherings? I think, yeah, there was a great moment. So another guy there was Wankster, and it felt like some of these guys kind of knew each other already, but we were in some time trouble. I was partnered with Wankster. I think we were up against Chicken Crossroads and I think possibly ECAF, and we were just down time and not making ground with the position. So we were trying to find a way through. And Wankster cheekily, kind of like out of the corner of his eye, indicates he's going to try to press the clock without his opponent knowing. So he's kind of slyly made his move on the board, but hadn't pressed his clock. And then all the focus shifted to my board, which had all of the interesting position. And he pulled it off. He actually pressed the clock. And I don't know, for like half a minute or something, his opponent didn't know. I can't remember if it was Chicken or Ika who it was, but we just exploded with laughter when they found out, because that's how we won the game, basically. We just gained half a minute out of nowhere. So I have fond memories. That's Jason, if you're out there, I haven't forgotten. They're just really good guys just to hang out with. So yeah, I have fond memories, because I've unfortunately not gone to any other gathering other than that one in New York. And while we were there, like the guys were saying, hey, we've got another one coming up in Florida. Why don't you just hop a plane and come with us? And I'm like, oh, I've got to get home within the next 2 days. So yeah, unfortunately there would have been an even bigger opportunity to meet more people in Florida. But yeah, I guess that's a pretty long-winded answer, but I hope that's satisfactory.
Окей, я попробую переводить.
Ага.
Джастина жена есть сестра, которая живет в Миннеаполисе, и которые потом переехали в Чикаго. И они поехали туда в первый раз в Соединенные Штаты и начали ездить по близлежащим городам. И это было первый раз, когда Джастин был в Штатах, и на сайте bughouse.com, если я не ошибаюсь, он спросил у игроков, кто может принять участие и сыграть вживую в Bughouse. Откликнулись люди, нашли клуб за $1 в час. Я сейчас боюсь кого-то пропустить. Это был присоединились Chicken Crossroad, Ekarf, Chuck Moulton, Wankster. Justin, add some people because I don't want to forget anyone.
Yeah, no, Messi, Emmy, IMG, and YCE. There will probably be others that I missed from my list as well, but yeah. So some of the big name players, Cran, there were some very strong players that attended.
Очень много игроков, и самая запоминающаяся партия, которая была, когда Джастин играл с Wankster против, если он не ошибается, Ekarf плюс Chicken Crossroad. И Wankster переключил часы и сделал так незаметно, что оппонент пропустил этот мув. И около 30 секунд было выиграно, и за счет этого Джастин и Wankster победили эту партию.
Обалдеть. Читеры?
Это был его единственный выезд в Штаты, то есть была возможность, приглашали во Флориду, но, к сожалению, не было возможности.
Я была во Флориде. Так, окей, давайте...
wasn't Florida.
Так, давайте следующий игрок. Кто у нас задает вопрос для Джастина?
Okay.
Thank you for following.
Next one, please.
All right, next one. Let's see from a calculator. So calculator, as I understand, is a 264
Cabbage.
block. Is that right?
Да. Cabbage.
Yeah.
Cabbage.
You've got to address people by 3 different names these days. Yeah. Calculator next, please.
Окей. Так, Кабаш у нас, он же Капуста, задал очень интересный вопрос. По ассоциации будет. А вопрос такой, что вы думаете об электромобилях? Смогут ли они полностью заменить газовые автомобили в ближайшие 20 лет?
Yeah, so a little bit. I have to double check that I correctly understand this, but in this context, I think gas is short for gasoline, which I think is a brand name that was originally based on someone's surname. But yeah, so petrol or benzene as opposed to gas. But what do you think of electric vehicles? Will they completely replace gas vehicles in the next 20 years?
In the next 20, that's a very specific question. I think the proportion will be significantly higher. I should say that I'm in support of electric vehicles. I'm in support of solar. I have ordered an electric vehicle. It's going to be held up for some time though, because the factory in which it's made is in Shanghai, and that's had some logistical issues over there with COVID and the like. Yeah, we have 2 cars in my garage at the moment. Both run on petrol at the moment. I'm hopeful within the next 12 months that one of them will be an electric vehicle and only one of them petrol. We have solar panels on our roof of our house. We have had for at least 3 years. So the grand plan really was to one day have an electric vehicle in the garage to charge. By my calculations, the size of the panels we've done, we could do like a 0 carbon footprint for our metro travel just around local Sydney. Yeah, it's a topic close to my heart. Brilliant question. So at least it should be 50% share of my household pretty soon. And I think there's a lot more companies getting more serious about it. It's not like a science fiction topic anymore. It's something coming to reality. Yeah, I guess that's my answer to that one. Brilliant question. Good one.
Так что заменит автомобили, не?
Джастин говорит, что через 20 лет пропорция в сторону электромобилей будет выше.
Ага.
И, по его мнению, это очень связано с солнечными батареями, которые вырабатывают электричество. То есть сейчас у Джастина 2 автомобиля с двигателем внутреннего сгорания, и один из них будет электрическим через 12... Он заменит на электрический в течение 12 месяцев. И это действительно вопрос, который Джастина очень волнует. Если раньше считалось, что переход на электромобили это что-то несбыточное, то сейчас с солнечной энергией действительно можно достичь 0% выбросов. То есть это не научная фантастика.
Класс. Так,
и очень понравился этот вопрос.
Супер, калькулятор старался. Плюзак, thank you for following. Так, и ассоциация, которую я спросила у калькулятора, с какой картиной ассоциируется Джастин. И он ответил, что Джастин ассоциируется у него с этой картиной. Картина называется «Большая волна у берегов Канагавы». Вот. Любуемся.
Okay, so asked which picture he would associate you with. This was calculated response. Great wave off the coast of Kanagawa.
Okay.
Так, следующий вопрос. Кого выбираем?
Okay, so
is that a historical moment? Is that a time associated with the place?
1831, I guess. It must have been an early, well-known tsunami. I would have thought. I've seen that picture in many different contexts.
Right, okay.
So who's next?
Go with finisher.
Финишер? Окей. Так, финишер у нас спросил такой вопрос. Недавно мир увидел снимки, сделанные космическим телескопом Джеймса Уэбба из НАСА. Как вы думаете, существуют ли инопланетяне?
Wait, this is the finisher?
Да.
I don't have that question.
Сейчас. Технические шоколадки у нас. У
I'm
финиш...
looking at the wrong document.
Есть. Вот у него вопрос. Перед калькулятором вопрос. Финишера был.
I may have a different version of the document open because I don't see that question, I'm afraid.
Прокрути выше, между клеркастом и калькулятором.
I see.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Yes, of course. My apologies. Okay. Take two. The world recently saw
Drink.
pictures taken by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. Do you think that aliens exist?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident aliens exist. Not because I've seen any proof. It's just a mathematical probability thing for me, in terms of how vast the universe is. For us to be the only life in it, I think, would be unusual. So I believe that aliens exist. Different question is whether aliens have ever been in contact with us, or that I don't really have a response to, but I think there must be life somewhere else in the universe.
Джастин говорит, что слишком велика математическая вероятность, чтобы кто-то существовал. То есть Джастин верит, что есть жизнь во Вселенной. Другой вопрос, готовы ли они вступить с нами в контакт, но в целом, да. В целом они где-то есть. Жизнь вне Земли где-то есть.
Nice. Так. Значит, ассоциация была такой. С каким растением ассоциируется Джастин? У финишера он ответил, что это эвкалипт.
Which means that the finisher was asked with which plant he would associate you, and his answer was the eucalyptus.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, that was also next to my house. That's what the possum would climb from, the eucalyptus tree. Yes.
Хорошо, давай следующего. Кого убираем?
All right. Next, who's next?
Кофту еще один.
Next will be. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I want to say Opawesen, but what in Elende?
О, Опавезен. Я думала, это будет последним вопросом в списке, но ладно. Опер задал интересный вопрос. Это, видимо, из какой-то игры, я не знаю, что это. Нужно повторить и продолжить это предложение. Орк, суп, который вы едите с. Я не знаю, что это.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to. I mean, Opera has a very, or Latin Elenda has a very idiosyncratic way of speaking and writing, I think. But I'm just going to say it as straight as I can. JannLee, could you finish this sentence? Ork, soup you eat with a...
Oh, no, I don't know that one. Orc, like O-R-C, like from...
O-R-K. Ork, soup you eat with a...
With a fork. Should be with a spoon. That's what I...
Yeah. So, I had the same impression. He's trying to get you to say fork, but he succeeded.
С какой машиной ассоциируетесь? Ассоциация. У него была, точнее, у него ассоциация, что это марка Сузуки.
And the association question was, what kind of car would he match you with? And he said Suzuki.
Как он сильный. Давай следующего, next.
Yeah, so who's next up?
Sure. We'll go with Aussie, GM Craze.
GM
Yeah.
Craze.
Let's
Окей.
go.
Так, гроссмейстер Крейз, он же Макс, спросил, какие изменения необходимо внести, чтобы перейти из топ-5 в топ-1 в мире в чем-либо? Вот что нужно сделать, чтобы стать самым лучшим?
Okay, so if you are in the top 5 in the world or something, what are the shifts that have to be made in order to get to number 1?
Oh, okay. If you're in the top 5, wow. Good question. So I guess I should go back to when I maybe was only top 5. I guess the biggest thing for me back when probably year 2000 is when I got on the internet, and then it was in maybe 2002, 2003 or 4, I think, when I started cracking into the higher levels into Bughouse and Crazyhouse. In chess, you know, I always looked at my rating. Didn't matter what it was. It could be our New South Wales Junior Chess League rating. It could be our Australian Chess Federation rating. It could be a FIDE rating. I really looked at the ratings carefully. I was like, oh, I wonder when there's going to be a new list come out, and, you know, have I improved? You know, I used it as a measure of strength and improvement, and really considered it absolute. And then you went online, and, you know, your rating could shift up and down 100 points in a day, and you know, it was a real wild swing emotionally because you tied so much to it. And the biggest difference for me was when I actually let go of any meaning that the rating carried. I found that behaviorally looking back, and it's what I probably mentioned in an interview before, that it's something that can hold you back sometimes, because when you reach a new peak or a new high, it can make you sit on that rating. And that's actually when you are developing the most new skills, and you have the biggest opportunity to push into a new level that maybe no one else has gone before. And, you know, instead I would just log on, find the strongest player above me, below me, didn't matter. Didn't matter if it was, you know, minus 15, plus 1, I would just play and play. That's kind of when I broke towards number 1, because I wasn't held back anymore. It set me free. Now that might not be the answer he's looking for, because you might be looking more technical on what you study, but I think it's, yeah, for me it wasn't about study, it was about playing the toughest opponents, being comfortable in losing positions, being comfortable with losing, I think was a very big, hard change. I have no fear of losing now. I'm excited when I lose, because you know, someone up new, talented is kicking my ass. I think that's fantastic. So that's kind of my answer for me. That was what really made the difference when I was kind of about rank 4 or 5 and I couldn't break through. I kind of set myself free in that way. All right, maybe Duches can. Sorry, that was a longer answer than I expected.
Джастин вспоминает, когда он был в топ-5, 2003-2004 год, Джастин начал играть пробиваться на топ-уровень шведки Crazyhouse, Bughouse и Crazyhouse. Он смотрел на рейтинг FIDE, на рейтинг Австралийской Федерации, но рейтинг он мог двигаться вверх и вниз. То есть скачки рейтинга могли прыгать на 100 пунктов за день. И эти скачки сначала очень влияли на состояние, но потом, потому что когда ты добиваешься новой вершины, нового рекорда, стараешься сидеть на этой вершине и сидеть на этом рейтинге. Когда Джастин отпустил рейтинг и начал фокусироваться на том, что он начал искать соперников, которые либо чуть лучше, либо чуть хуже, и играть, тренироваться с сильнейшими оппонентами, учиться и сохранять комфорт, даже если проигрываешь. То есть он больше не боится проиграть, он, наоборот, рад, что подрастают новые игроки, которые могут надрать ему задницу.
Классно. Я прошу прощения, я забыла прочитать ассоциацию от Зиксона. Нам нужно вернуться. И ассоциация была такая: с какой горой ассоциируется Джастин? И картинка вот такая. Да, это горный хребет с очень спокойной погодой, потому что он всегда спокоен в шторм. Сера де Эстрелла.
Okay, so what's happening is we're spooling back a little bit because Zaraza forgot the association question, which was asked of Zixon Firefly. And that question was which mountain would he associate you with? And he answered the now any Portuguese people listening, I apologize, but I believe this is the Serra de Estrela. And Zixon explains it's a mountain range with very calm weather, and he associates it with you because you're always calm within the storm that is Crazyhouse.
Okay, that's very fun.
Да. Так, ассоциация у нас... Так, кого же я читала? Я уже запуталась. У Крейза был вопрос, с каким фруктом ассоциируется Джастин. И Крейз не смог назвать один фрукт. Он сказал, что это смесь яблок, бананов, клубники, малины, черники. Вот это весь Джастин.
And from Zixon back to Craze, who prompted the question, which you answered so fully, and Yusha's translated excellently, if I'm any judge, which I'm probably not. But Craze was asked which fruit he would associate you with, and he couldn't pick one, so he's come up with the answer: a blend of apple, banana, strawberry, raspberries, and blueberries.
And
okay.
This is you.
I drink that. I like those. They're good.
Okay. Так, next. У нас осталось двое.
Right, so...
Okay, Fishy Vishy will be next.
Fishy Vishy, окей. Fishy Vishy у нас спросил... Сейчас. Какие ваши любимые видеоигры были в детстве?
Which is, what were your favorite video games growing up?
Right, so there were a few. If it's a first-person shooter, it would have been Counter-Strike, and I've got fond memories of 8 or 10 of us going into an internet cafe and just shooting the hell out of each other for 2 or 3 hours non-stop and yelling at each other, stabbing the next guy in the back if you could, all that sort of stuff. For strategic, it was Age of Empires 2. I've still tried to get my daughter into it, and she is very much into it, but we somehow need to work it out amongst ourselves how to play that. Just got to find the time for it, I think. There's a video game, the the fighting game, which is Dead or Alive 2. That's actually where the name JannLee comes from. So he was a fighter that basically fought Bruce Lee's style of fighting, Jeet Kune Do. I used to play that a lot with Bugzilla, actually. At our place, we would line up, you'd have a 5 versus 5, and you'd just beat your opponent's characters till you got to the last player, and we'd play like first to 20. So you'd get through like 100 characters you'd have to kill before, the day was up. And we could do that, one day right after the other. So they're probably the big 3 that are most memorable. And of course, in between that, there's some Bughouse and Crazyhouse that'll get played in the middle of that. Yeah, that's a good question. There's some good memories.
Так, хорошо. А переводить-то будет кто-то? Перечисление игр?
Да. Counter-Strike, если мы говорим о шутерах, это Counter-Strike. Джастин ходил в интернет-кафе, где сидело 10 человек, они кричали друг на друга, веселились и играли. Стратегия — это Age of Empires 2. Я не знаю, как по-русски.
Ну ладно, не страшно.
Это то, что они сейчас вместе с дочкой занимаются иногда. И если мы говорим про файтинг, это Марлон, может, мне поможет, потому что я не запомнил название.
But this one's Dead or Alive 2.
Dead or Alive 2. Okay, so do you have any more?
Это файтинг, с которого, собственно, пошел ник JannLee. И JannLee вместе с Бакзилой играли практически весь день, когда нужно победить практически сотню боев за день. И очень хорошие воспоминания, и Джастин очень одобряет этот вопрос.
Класс. Так, ассоциация. Я его спросила, с какой музыкой ассоциируется Джастин, он ответил, что это инди-рок.
Okay, so this was a musical genre associated with yourself, and Fishy chose indie rock.
Okay, cool.
Так, и у нас остался один волк. Точнее, он спрашивает, сейчас найду вопрос. Вы любите читать? Если да, то какую книгу вы бы назвали своей любимой на данный момент?
Okay, so it's a compound question. Do you like reading? And if so, which would you consider to be your favorite book that you've read so far?
Okay, the first question is, I'll just confess, I am not a good reader. And I have behind me actually, there's one box here, just there, which is full of chess books, which my father bought actually, and he wasn't much of a chess player, but I think he bought them to try to study with me or learn something about chess as well on the way, and there's kind of like not a time capsule, but there's an unopened gem just kind of there, all those books that like my dad kind of bought and I never really read, that I look forward to maybe one day changing my style towards reading. I've honestly been more of an interactive learner. Like I learn through playing, I learn through making mistakes, not so much through studying. And so that made final year of high school quite difficult because you do need to study, and I didn't do as well as I might have done if I had some more years under my belt. So it's hard to say what a favorite book would be because it's not really been a big thing for me. So sorry about that, but yeah, the first part is really just not really a good reader. I did want to say I deliberately left Lone Wolf there just because of his name, the Lone Wolf. It seemed fitting to leave a lone wolf on his own, but not because I dislike him or anything. It just seems suitable. Yeah.
Не слышно, микрофон включи.
Джастин признается, что он не очень любит читать, не очень. У него есть книжный шкаф, в котором на одной полке лежат книжки по шахматам, которые купил его отец. Но Джастин предпочитает учиться на практике, делая ошибки чем через книги. И сложно сказать, какая книжка его любимая, по поводу Лон Вульфа мне сложно сказать, я не буду ходить.
Так, он намеренно оставил Лон Вульф до последней, чтобы он будет одиноким, да? Из-за имени. Это не было, потому что он ненавидит его.
Понятно.
Теперь я понял. Лон Вульф — это как бы одинокий волк.
Да.
И он как бы остался последний не потому, что он одинокий волк, просто так совпало.
Я думаю, наказали его. Так,
Okay, hey, I have decided to pull one from the shelf that I actually did finish, and I quite liked. I'm going to show it. This is called Caro's Book of Poker Tells. This was written by Mike Caro, who was known as like the poker genius way back, and it's all about his analysis of what people do at a poker table and what it really means. So I'll put that book up there. Actually, that was one that I enjoyed, that I actually did finish. Possibly because it's got pictures in it, I was able to finish it, and I could actually apply some of the things there. So we'll put that as the answer to that compound question. Sorry for the late response.
Книжка, с которой Джастин справился, это была Майк Каро «Что говорит покер». Майк Каро «Покер Tells». И одна из причин, что там, что это очень то, что Джастин применяет на практике.
Он играет в покер? На деньги?
Justin, do you play poker on money?
I used to. So in my university days, I mean, it's either illegal or the Australian government stopped all other poker sites from getting to individuals. Something happened, but once upon a time you could play it online, but I actually liked the casino the most. I liked to see other people. It for me taught me some really valuable skills as well, and also pushed me out of my comfort zone, which actually surprisingly helped me a lot in my business career later, because I was previously not very good at starting conversations with new people, or felt nervous in front of new people. And I think after being comfortable enough with 9 strangers every time sitting at a poker table, I was much better in the business context, because you got introduced, or there was already a common face, and it was just so much easier than that. I suppose also when it comes to presentation skills, I just had a lot less stage fright. So for me, poker was a lot of learning that I did not expect. I probably just made a tidy sum when I was a student, and I decided I'd go look for a full-time job, because I'd probably be better at that. I'd love to sit down and play poker. I went to Vegas when I went to the US trip, and I made sure I sat down for some long sessions. So I'm very comfortable at the felt.
Андрей?
Джастин играл в покер, когда в студенческое время, когда австралийское государство еще не запретило игры. Сейчас он предпочитает живой покер. Ему нравится живой покер больше, чем онлайн-покер. И это помогло Джастину в бизнес-карьере, потому что он говорит, что он был застенчивым, и вот этот опыт игры с незнакомыми игроками за одним столом, когда все вокруг тебя незнакомы, как бы дало ему уверенности в последующей карьере. И то есть покер дал ему какие-то навыки, которые он не ожидал. И когда он был в путешествии по Америке, он с удовольствием заехал в Вегас и поиграл в длинной сессии в Вегасе.
Вау, круто. А ассоциация одинокого волка, что Джастин ассоциируется у него с мастером Йодой.
The association question was which character from fiction or real life, and his answer was Master Yoda.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Так, теперь у нас сейчас следующие, извиняюсь, у меня тут технические шоколадки опять. Следующая тема для стрима. Это я хочу, чтобы Джастин рассказал... Джастин предоставил мне 6 фотографий своего детства и юношества. И я хочу, чтобы мы быстро про ним прошлись. Кто на этой фотографии? Что вы тут делаете?
Okay, so Justin has been good enough to share 6 photos from his childhood, and in this next part of the stream, he's going to hopefully explain who's who and what's going on.
Okay, sure. So yeah, before we start this segment, I just want to say I think it's very nice from Zaraza to ask a few different questions of those that are asking questions of me. So it's nice to hear some feedback from them through associations of different things. That's a nice idea. Okay, this first photo, this is taken in the house that I grew up in. This looks like it would have been a birthday of mine, possibly aged, say 13 or thereabouts. I've just got some mates and we're playing Monopoly. In the background, you'll see the brick and the sliding door. My father built this part of the extension of the house, and I believe he would have laid the bricks himself. And to the right, you'll see there's a cabinet that's stacked with some chess trophies. So it's my half brother. He had built me one box, and then it got full, so he built another box, and then I think he just stopped building boxes after that. But some of those near the top were quite dear to me. They were the team cups from, I think there were 4 years in total from primary school, when our primary school team won the regional title for New South Wales multiple times in a row. Yes, so this is the house I grew up in.
Джастин поблагодарил за ассоциации, ему очень понравилось получать какой-то фидбэк от игроков. А на этом фото это день рождения Джастина. Они играют в Монополию. Это дом, в котором он вырос. Я сейчас опять могу ошибиться.
Вот, кстати, тут кубки справа.
Я так понял, что вот этот деревянный шкаф, это построил его отец.
Отец построил двери из стеклами. Представляешь, если у тебя есть тот же самый отец, но разный мат, это половина брат. Я не знаю, если так правильно на русском, но он делал этот шкаф.
И в шкафу стоят кубки из школы. Я так понял, что он побеждал в школьных соревнованиях несколько раз подряд.
По шахматам или какие-то разные спорт был?
Шахмат.
Шахмат, да? Хорошо. Так, давайте следующую фотографию. Отлично. Так, это фотографии старшей школы. Что это за форма? И номер 2. Почему номер 2?
Okay, so we're moving on to the next photo.
Oh, okay. So this looks like it was taken in an airport somewhere, but where this comes from is 2002, which was when I was in final year of high school, year 12. You got to choose your jersey nickname on your back, and Chess Freak was what I chose, and it was, you know, not everyone had to like it, so you know, my friends who knew me, a lot of other kids, but not necessarily in the same year, knew who I was, so it made sense, and you know, it also just turned heads in the schoolyard. It was enough that people could make a joke about it or say, "Oh, that's an unusual choice." So that's what I chose, and I remember not being afraid to wear it wherever I went. So it was a piece of my identity. Yeah.
Эта фотография была сделана где-то возле аэропорта.
Угу.
Я так понимаю, что около 2002 года.
Угу.
То есть в этот момент нужно было в школе выбрать никнейм, то есть прозвище, и Джастин выбрал Chess Freak. Это было достаточно необычно и даже немного странно, то есть для детей, которые вокруг. Но Джастин считает, что это то, что его идентифицирует, и он доволен этим.
О, класс. Мне нравится. Так, а следующая фотография. Кто эти люди? Что тут делаете?
Okay, so what's the next one?
Джастин?
Okay, so this is just outside. This is also the house where I grew up at. So the room where you saw the Monopoly is just adjacent, which would be on the right side of where this photo was taken. Yeah, as some of you may know, my father, who is at the back in blue there, he passed away a bit more than 3 years ago. And he did, you know, he was a structural engineer. So he designed his own plans, and you know, it was kind of after he retired. This was a big part of the extension that he made on this house. So where we're sitting in this picture used to be just vacant space sitting in the air until he, you know, got you know, steel supports and concrete, and built a carport on it, and we often have a barbecue here. So I chose this photo for multiple reasons. There's the couple old cars that I grew up with. They're both made by Ford. One is a Ford Falcon at the top left, and there's a Ford Laser top right. The boat's not ours, that belongs to the neighbour. We weren't ever that well to do. And you'll see there's these big, you know, trunks. Those are those eucalyptus trees, and you know, the possums can climb across. You can see there's wood and then steel there, and they can make their way across into the house that way. Yeah, the other people in this photo, one is my half brother. He's sitting next to me. He's still with us, and his then girlfriend, who was on the other side. They're married with 2 kids. They still live, you know, in the same city as us, so we're very close. This is kind of like a modern family photo. The lady, the elderly lady there, is my half brother's grandmother, which is actually my father's mother-in-law from his first wife. It was his ex-wife, basically. So you had this family that was still very much together, even though it may seem strange that I'm actually the product of the second wife that my dad's married, but I was always mixing with family from his first wife because we all just stayed together that way. I guess the other piece of significance is, growing up in Australia, we had Christmas in summer, and you still have Christmas tunes that say, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, and I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. So this is what Christmas looks like in Australia. So that's something for the viewers. It's actually hot, and you have a barbecue. There's no snow, and I thought that was just another point to make here. But I think that's plenty for me. Pity you translators that have to put all that together back to Zaraza. But just take a breath any moment to ask the question.
Can I just ask you? I mean, is that your half brother on the right there?
Yes, the one with glasses. Okay. Yeah.
And behind him, that's his grandma.
Yes, that's right.
Then there's yourself. Then there's your dad, and the young woman on the left.
That's the girlfriend of my half brother. Now
Gotcha.
his wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is Modern Family. Yeah. This is this is what it was like.
Incidentally, there's seldom snow at Christmas in much of the northern hemisphere. So, but you don't sit outside in runners and shorts and t-shirts. So.
Fair enough.
На фотографии Джастин с родственниками. Это, собственно, тот же самый дом, в котором он вырос. То есть комната с монополией была бы справа на фотографии. На синем, на фоне его отец. Он умер 3 года назад, и он был инженером, который, собственно, проектировал и строил. Они сидят в таком как бы free space, свободное место, где они часто сидели, проводили время, делали барбекю. Джастин упомянул 2 автомобиля белых, один из них Ford. Также на Ford.
Налево Сокол, направо Лазер. Лазер существует только
В Австралии?
Россияне. Ну так, у нас есть Ford, у нас нет Лазера. Это существует.
Понятно.
И также по деревьям они стоят довольно близко от крыши, от дома, и по этим деревьям забирались поссумы, о которых, собственно, тоже рассказывали. То есть справа от Джастина это его сводный брат, слева от Джастина это девушка сводного брата, которая стала потом его женой. И они женаты, и у них 2 ребенка, и они живут недалеко вместе, рядом с Джастином.
Супер.
И пожилая женщина – это бабушка сводного брата или свекровь отца от первого брака. То есть от первого брака. То есть у его отца было 2 брака, но такая современная семья, что они до сих пор хорошо общаются и ладят друг с другом.
Супер.
И эта фотография сделана в Рождество. В Австралии как бы Рождество проходит летом.
Без снега.
Потому что, да, южное полушарие. И как бы Джастин как бы всегда как бы думал, что Рождество это белое Рождество, потому что снег должен быть. Но в Австралии это всегда так. И, собственно, эта фотография такая рождественская Австралия.
На фоне листвы. Прикольно. Так, у нас внепланово 2 вопроса. Один мучил меня долго, но я думаю, он, конечно, всем австралийцам уже надоел, а второй пришел от Андрея Таймера в Телеграм. В общем, вопрос от меня. Глупый, но меня он мучает. Дрался ли когда-нибудь Джастин с кенгуру?
Еще раз?
Justin, have you ever had a fight with kangaroo?
No. I think once, my mother tells me I was very young at the time, but somewhere my dad went with us, my mum, dad, and I think there was a kangaroo, and maybe, I don't know if he was trying to hand it some bread or had a loaf, but I think he got attacked by kangaroos because he had the bread, but not me, no.
Что такое?
Мама Джастина рассказывала, что когда он был маленький, его отец хотел покормить кенгуру и хотел нести там хлеб, и в этот момент кенгуру пытались его проатаковать. Но это было с его отцом, не с Джастином.
Понятно. Вопрос от игрока Андрея Таймер. Кого Джастин больше боится, когда идет купаться, плавать? Акул или крокодилов?
Justin, what are you afraid of when you go swimming? Sharks or crocodiles?
Question
usually,
from Andrew Timer.
Usually neither, but where we live, it would be more likely sharks than crocodiles. So if you were maybe in Northern Territory, I think that there could be more crocodiles there. But in our waters, possibly sharks, not crocodiles. And I don't venture out that deep. So we're, with the kids, we're usually pretty shallow. So we're fairly safe.
Джастин говорит, что обычно он никого не боится, но в районе, где он живет, скорее это будут акулы. То есть в районе Северной Австралии это крокодилы, но когда он обычно идет, то с детьми купается, то старается быть в более безопасной зоне, чтобы далеко не заплывать.
Понятно. Так, давайте следующую фотографию. Кто на этой фотографии?
So just quickly on that topic though, we were walking, Bella was on her bike and I was with my mum and we were walking through our suburb the other day. I will show this photo just here, it's visible. We did walk past, this was actually not like next to the path, but about 5 meters away from the path. That's a red-bellied black snake. That's actually quite venomous. You don't want to get bitten by one of those. It can kill you. But yeah, that's on our walk around. That's.
Что это?
I couldn't get a length, but I would estimate somewhere between 1.5 to 2 meters, and quite a thick body. So I know we're known for all sorts of things that can kill you here, but sharks, crocodiles, spiders, snakes. That was a real photo from less than a week ago.
Джастин только что показал фотографию змеи, которая была примерно в 5 метрах от дороги. То есть это ядовитая змея, которая может действительно убить человека. И крокодилы, змеи, пауки — это то, что встречается.
Ужас. Как они там живут? Так, давайте про фотографии вернемся уже.
Okay, so back to the photos.
Okay, so yes, I chose this photo because it's one of the few that had the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the background. That's an icon of our city. And I noticed something interesting from these photos. Like, I don't seem to have one good T-shirt in any of these photos. This is my mom. This is actually her graduating with, I think it's some kind of certificate with financial studies. She was still furthering her studies late in her career. And I appreciated that. I believe she probably just finished close to the equivalent of high school and would have had to start working straight away. She was from a family of 9. She would have, I believe, possibly the second eldest in her family. And she was from quite a poor family growing up in Singapore. So she always put my education first, and I'm very lucky that she supported that. But she was still getting towards her studies even later in life, because she had to work from a young age. I'm forever grateful to Mum. She still found a way to allow me to go overseas to represent Australia for chess 4 times. That was in 95, 99, 2000 and 2001. And the way she did it was there'd be all sorts of fundraising activities. Like you could get, these chocolates in boxes, and, you might buy a box for $20, and it'd have 20 pieces in it, and you try to sell them for $2 each. That's how you raised money back then. And my father wasn't working, he had retired, so she was the single income for most of what I can remember. So, yep, she's the person holding the camera for most of the photos you're seeing today. But just wanted to get one with her in the shot, because she means a lot to me, and I'm still lucky to have her around.
На фотографии Джастин рядом с мамой, ему не нравится футболка. Эта фотография сделана, когда она получала финансовый сертификат. Его мама была из небогатой семьи в Сингапуре и начала работать с раннего возраста. И при этом она всегда ставила на первое место обучение Джастина. Всегда помогала. Например, чтобы Джастин мог участвовать в Австралии в шахматных соревнованиях, она делала фандрайзинговую кампанию, продавала печенье, чтобы собрать деньги. И потому что его отец уже вышел на пенсию, и это был единственный источник дохода. И он счастлив, что как она ему помогала, и что она еще вместе с ним.
Класс. Трогательно. Так, теперь давайте следующая фотография. Что у нас здесь?
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so I'm in pajamas here, and my dad's got his fine legs showing, but that's not what's remarkable in this photo. I'm here. This was probably trying to do some study, possibly during a tournament. But what I found remarkable was the position on the board is often seen on the Crazyhouse board, except I'm usually with the black pieces, with the E4, E5, this is the Bishop C5 line. I was just surprised to find a photo with this position set up on the real life board, and I still play it today. So yeah, obviously very memorable, because Dad, my mum would be with us as well, but Dad would do the driving during the school holidays. I remember every school holidays we'd go somewhere for chess, so we wouldn't stay in Sydney necessarily. We would drive interstate somewhere to another town or another state for hours and stay in a hotel, and that was good for my mum and dad. They got to see a different place, and then I would go and play chess. So this is my memory of school holidays, basically.
Джастин на фотографии в пижаме занимается вместе со своим отцом. То есть эта позиция на доске, это довольно часто встречается в Crazyhouse, E4, E5, и Джастин говорит, что он играл даже сегодня черными эту позицию. Но эта фотография примечательна тем, что Он здесь вместе с отцом, и папа возил его из Сиднея в другие города на шахматные соревнования. То есть они останавливались в таких вот комнатах отеля, и Джастин видел много разных города, и это то, чем ему обычно вспоминается, если говорить о школьных каникулах. То есть такие шахматные соревнования и выезды.
Классно. Кстати, по поводу шахмат. Естественно, когда готовилась я к стриму, я полезла в Google искать рейтинг Джастина. Естественно, Google выдал то, что он знал первым делом. Джастин Тан, хуйс. Это не ты. Кто это? Сейчас я уменьшу, подождите, сори. Вот так. И сделаем вот так. Да. Кто это? Кто этот мальчик? Джастин Тан, ты гроссмейстер?
This is the a question which I remember you answering on one of your early streams. I seem to recall you were wearing your Australian rugby top at the time. But the question is, as Zaraza has framed it, is she Googled you, and this is what she got. So what's the story? Are you a grandmaster? Because that doesn't look like you.
Yeah, that's right. So this is very interesting, and it's very unusual. But there are two Justin Tans in Australia that play chess. I was there first. So I'm actually born in 1985. So here I could see he was born 1997. So he'd be 12 years younger than me. I'm quite certain I have met the other Justin Tan once, and it was before he was anybody, possibly when he was just starting to learn the game. We were at a tournament hall, and I spoke with his father briefly. I think he said something along the words of, he does some gymnastics as well, but we're giving chess a go. We're from another state, Victoria, but his name is also Justin Tan. And back then, I would have been the only Justin Tan known in Australian chess. So we said, yeah, okay, nice to meet you. And I believe somewhere we got a photo of the two of us. He would have been just a little kid, maybe like 8 years old or something like that. And I want to believe it's him. And I would love to find the photo as like definitive proof that there are two Justin Tans in Australia. He's now a grandmaster, so he has far surpassed my abilities. And if you look anywhere Justin Tan Australia on the internet, you'll find his name. I think he actually has an account on Lee Chess, but I want to get it right. And I think it's just Tan, but I'm just going to check that. Yeah, so if you go JUSTANTAN on Lee Chess, you'll find...
Я открою, ссылка будет.
And that's Justin Tan, and that's him. So, yeah, I mean, I can only wonder how many questions he's got about Crazyhouse, where he's like, dude, I don't play that game. I don't know what you're talking about. Because I get questions from like, hey, I'm your cousin from San Francisco. I'm like, no, you're not. That's the other guy. I don't have any cousins in San Francisco. So I still get random things, but yeah, I did send Zaraza a website with my profile where I'm just 2281, and you can see I'm born 1985. That one is me, and yeah, I'm probably better known online as JannLee now. He should have the name Justin Tan for Australian chess. That's his identity now.
Действительно, в Австралии два Джастина Тана. JannLee родился в 1985, а второй Джастин на 12 лет моложе, родился в 97-м. Они даже встречались один раз на соревнованиях, когда второй Джастин начинал, и они говорили с его отцом, и что второй Джастин занимается гимнастикой, но, скорее всего, будет заниматься шахматами. Даже где-то есть фото, где они вместе, но второй Джастин еще маленький. И JannLee будет рад, если найдется фото, где они будут вместе. Но в итоге вышло так, что второй Джастин стал гроссмейстером. И интересно, сколько гроссмейстер Джастин Тан получил вопросов по Crazyhouse, потому что JannLee получает постоянно вопрос: я твой кузен из Сан-Франциско, и ему приходится рассказывать, что нет, это не я. Вот, и действительно, его рейтинг 2800 это то, что сейчас на экране.
Да. А почему Джастин не стал дальше развиваться? Что случилось, что он профессиональные шахматы забросил?
Yeah, so the question is, how come you stopped when you got to 2200 or thereabouts?
Yeah, good question. And I think the lone wolf question was possibly part of that. I mean, I didn't read, I didn't study. There's a point in chess where you do need to put in the hours, and just playing and mucking around and experimenting in tournaments isn't enough to cut it. I think with a bit more wisdom now under my belt, I might have approached it differently. But I also felt that if you're number one or number two in the world in chess, you're doing very well. But otherwise, it's not the easiest thing to make a living out of. I mean, many people have done it. There are many chess coaches out there, many tournament players. But I kind of got towards university, and Crazyhouse and Bughouse I could keep as a hobby quite comfortably. I could play online at any time. I didn't need to set aside a weekend. And then it's kind of got work, family, and that just kind of has its own path. So yeah, that's the way it went for me.
Джастин говорит, что, возможно, причина как раз связана с вопросом Лон Вульфа, что он не учился, не читал, и именно наступает какой-то момент в уровне, когда практики не хватает, чтобы расти. Нужно заниматься. С текущим опытом, возможно, он смотрит назад, возможно, стоило больше заниматься именно с книжками. Если ты номер один и номер два в шахматах, то ты зарабатываешь деньги, но если ты не чемпион, то сложно зарабатывать, и поэтому он пошел в университет и сфокусировался на работе, семье и поддерживает Crazyhouse и Bughouse как хобби.
Класс.
Sorry, I've got an uninvited guest that just joined me. It's 12:20, by the way. It's 20 past midnight. Daddy. And this guy is still awake, like his father, a bit of a night owl. Hey, yeah, he knows where the microphone is. So.
He doesn't have the hair anymore, though.
No, not the big hair. No, he's got hair more like mine. But this is a microphone. Yes.
Так,
He's 3 now. Sorry, we'll let you continue.
у меня еще есть вот такая фотография. Кто на ней? Who is it?
Is there another photo? Because we need to see. Okay. Yes, this is taken in Spain. Actually, this is in Oropesa del Mar. I would guess it's probably 1999. That's myself with David Smurden. So he's now a grandmaster. I have some of the best memories. Yeah, we were just kids running around. You know, you could run around the beach and have a lot of fun. We had other tales where. Sorry if Spencer's noisy.
No problem.
But, no, we're not reading the book. And I remember we had. Let me just pause here, and I'll come back. Spencer's being quite a hand. I'll come back. Okay.
Пока скажу, что к этой фотографии Джастин еще дал ссылку на партию, которую они играли, и мы сейчас ее будем смотреть. Они играли ее вот как раз с этим гроссмейстером, с Дэвидом Смерденом, и мы ее рассмотрим, Джастин сам покажет ее. Это не Crazyhouse, это обычно шахматы, не знаю, где они играли. И недавно Смерден выпустил книгу, ну, о шахматах какой-то, и эту партию он включил в эту книгу. Как раз Джастин увидел недавно ну, как бы эту книгу, что туда включил партию, вспомнил партию и как раз дал мне фотографии и партию.
For Justin's return at an opportune moment, Naraza was just saying that there is a game in one of the books written by the gentleman on the left, GM David Smurden, which we're going to be having a look at. This would have been a few years after they played that game, I think, if I remember the chronology. But,
yeah, so I have a memory of David. I was probably about 9 years old. I think when at an earlier time, maybe 8 or so, I had won the under 12s state title for New South Wales, and you know, it made sense to try the next level up. So I believe it might have been in Canberra where I went to my first tournament that was actually an Australian junior tournament, and so hadn't ever played something of that scale. And there was a lot of buzz. There was this kid, and everyone was talking about David Smurden. He was a bit older than I was, and he's going to be the next big thing. So I had progressed quite well in the tournament, and you know, one day found myself, you know, paired against him on board 1 because you know, we were up there, and so I must have been 9, he must have been 10, and I never forgot the game because I fought my way to an end game where I was up a rook and 4 pawns versus a rook, and I just slipped for a moment, and I allowed him into a stalemate sort of position where he could just sacrifice his rook. Now, what was interesting is because in bringing up these photos, it brought back these memories. So I went online to look for this game, and it is online. And funnily enough, one person had kibitzed a comment only just a couple months ago, putting in a quote that David Smurden had written, and it was from a book that he'd only published a couple years ago. So it was also a memorable game for him, I imagine. Yeah, I think we can go through that game now if you like, Saraza. I guess just to finish, you know, that photo was taken in Spain, and I am still very grateful to my mum for being able to make that opportunity with the other Australian juniors. Because you know, some of the guys that I went with, they're now grandmasters. That, you know, they're very talented guys.
Андрей?
Это был первый большой турнир для Джастина, и на фотографии Давид, я забыл фамилию.
Дэвид Смирден.
Все говорили об этом парне, что он будет как бы следующей восходящей звездой. И Джастин хорошо шел по турниру, и в какой-то момент они играли с Давидом на первой доске. То есть Джастину было лет 9, Давиду лет 10, и возникла позиция, когда у Джастина было ладья и 4 пешки против ладьи. Это как раз один из тех турниров, куда Джастин смог отправиться благодаря его маме, и он благодарен за это. Вот, и сейчас мы как бы будем смотреть эту партию.
Да, попроси Джастина расширить свой экран. Я сейчас увеличу как раз.
Justin, could you share your screen to show the game?
Oh, it's okay. I think Zaraza could click through it. I mean, I can talk through a few points. I can stop her at 1 or 2 moves, but I don't think it's a game where we have to analyze every component right down to its detail.
Зараза, Джастин предлагает, что ты сама пройдешь по партии, и в каких-то моментах Джастин просто будет оставлять комментарии.
Хорошо, сейчас, окей. One moment, please. Так. Так, let's go. Дэвид белыми, да, Джастин черными, получается, играл. Дэвид white, Justin is black.
Or,
yeah.
Hang on, let me see. Here we go. So I'm black. David is white.
Yes.
And I have a funny feeling that as a kid, I probably played the Sicilian defense up until this point. I think somehow we may have got some games of David's, and he was playing the French defense, and so I gave it a go myself as black, and I think I played the French defense forever after. So it's quite significant, this game. I mean, a lot of people will know this sort of thing. So it's an exchange French, and you know, we're just a 9 and 10-year-old here playing moves. So I think, yeah, keep going forward. This is all the way 10. But if we go forward just to the point where there was Queen B3 was played at some stage, and yeah, I clearly blundered. So we keep moving forward. I think I castle, and I don't realize that my Queen on E7 is defending both the knight on F6 and the pawn on B7, and that's the start of the problems. So we keep moving forward, and here I miss bishop takes F6, and you know, I've just got an open king, and he maneuvers very quickly and well to start an attack on the king, and that's the beginning of my problems. So we keep moving ahead, bringing the queen into action. So I tried to make some counterplay on the queen side, and he blocks off, or attempts to, with c5. And now rook g3 is coming fast. So knight e5 is played to at least give some cover to g6. But there's problems for black here. And now I'm actually, you know, dropping a knight, but here I'm not sure if he should have just played knight takes f5. But after taking the knight, miraculously, it's white that's in trouble, because you know, black is threatening to win the queen, and so I feel like I blundered myself into an advantage in this game, and we, you know, this is a 9 and a 10-year-old just playing for tactics now. So, I mean, you can push towards the end game now. This is just a black queen taking pawns mostly, And there'll come a point where I think I must have decided it was simpler to trade the queen off for two pieces at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, queen for two pieces is pretty good in Crazyhouse, but I guess in regular chess it depends more on the position.
Yeah, I think looking back, there's probably many ways to finish this quicker with black, but we keep going, and there's at some stage I do trade off the queen, and I just figured that it would be much simpler, so we keep going.
Джастин говорит, что как бы это настолько уже выигранная позиция, что можно уже
Не играть, да?
промотать быстро вперед.
Хорошо.
Да, и уж
Yeah,
here
is where I've traded the queen back for the two pieces, because there's not going to be any tricky mates or anything like that, and I'm up 4 pawns. We should have a pretty cruisy victory here. So you kind of wonder how black doesn't win this game.
Ничья получается. 3 хода, что ли, было?
And this is the moment. So step back a little bit. So it's just before c3, just before c3 is played. Is where the critical point is.
Можешь сделать 5 ходов назад.
5 ходов? Раз.
Да.
Что-то они не ходятся, знаешь, как-то. Наверное, где-то здесь. Еще.
Yeah, so go back. Just a few moves. Before c3 is played. And if you look down in the comments, if you scroll down just a little bit, yeah, there's a comment written by someone just underneath. I don't know if
там где-то
understands.
внизу должен быть коммент под этим. Если ты скролл даун сделаешь, как
скролл. Вот.
Опустишь, то есть под коммент под партию.
Вот, я опустила. Вот этот?
Yeah, see this? There's a little quote. Yeah, it was on her screen for a split second there.
Нет, да, вот это вот.
A little bit higher.
Где-то повыше.
Yeah, there. This was written 14th. It looks like March, just this year. Yeah, someone wrote Bull Black. So this looks like the quote from David's book. It says, I remember trying desperately to keep my emotions in check, feeling like I was going to explode while my opponent's hand hovered over the c-pawn. So that's the position just before I played c3, where I should just bring my rook around to the first rank and it's an easy win. But just for a moment I saw c3 or b2 looks nearly like mate. We got to play it. It was years after that he got better and better and better, and that was like the big fish that got away for me. So yeah, I did show that there because some people question, could you have gone further in chess, or just to, I suppose, show the caliber of opponents that I was playing against as a junior. These guys turned into IMs and GMs mostly, but they had the patience to study chess a lot longer than I did.
Well, as Yasser Serawan, I recall, said to you when you were introducing Jasigi 12 team, you have to get them when they're young.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Хорошо, классная игра, да.
У Джастина было ощущение, что после хода c3, это как раз позиция, которая была включена в книгу, что ладья становится бешеной и дает шахи королю, и нету спасения черному королю от шахов. И как раз эта партия, что Дэвид стал как бы гроссмейстером в итоге, и очень много оппонентов, с которыми играл JannLee в детстве, становились хорошими игроками.
Клево.
Вот. И у Джастина было ощущение отпущенной большой рыбы, которая плыла в него из рук.
Прикольно. Так, а теперь мы плавно переходим, в принципе, к Crazyhouse. Чуть-чуть. Я попросила Джастина дать цитату. И вот он дал: «Атакуй инстинктивно, защищайся расчетливо». Попросите его прокомментировать.
Okay, so we're moving on to Crazyhouse now. Some quotes from yourself, Jan. First of all, attack by instinct, defend by calculation. If you'd like to expand.
Yeah, I think this was originally maybe from like a Bughouse quote from a long time ago. My recollection was that somebody created a Bughouse forum or a Bughouse site with resources on it, and they had actually posted this as a quote by Tandaman, which was my username back then, and you know, I was at the time kind of saying, well, actually I kind of moved on already. I think you got to do everything by instinct in Bughouse, because time is of the essence, and you've got to play quickly. But in Crazyhouse, I suppose I still find this, you know, true for a lot of players, true for myself sometimes. You know, when you're on the attacking side, it's just like, oh, that move looks good, and for sure, let's just play it. And when you're defending, it's a lot harder, and you do need to calculate, but it's worthwhile doing for some good results. So I posted this here largely because I thought it might be familiar to some of the old school players. There's some words that have been posted on the internet before.
Когда-то давно был сайт с Бакхаусом, со шведками, и вот эта цитата была запущена как цитата Tandaman, то есть когда у JannLee был другой немножко ник. А в Crazy это все еще верно, что когда ты атакуешь, ты как бы ищешь, вот это выглядит хорошо, как бы делал этот ход, а когда ты защищаешься, это намного сложнее, и нужно считать варианты. Но в принципе это также верно и для Crazyhouse, как и для Bughouse.
Угу, хорошо. А у меня еще есть вопросы от финишера про Crazyhouse. Мы знаем, что тебе, Джастин, определенно не хватало сна во время долгих сессий Crazyhouse. Ты когда-нибудь пропускал приемы пищи или встречи важные из-за того, что слишком много играл? Что было самым сложным или долгим из того, что когда-либо играл в Crazyhouse?
These questions are from the finisher. I don't know whether he actually works in treating addictions or interventions or anything, but that's what this question sounds like to me. We know you've certainly missed some sleep when playing long Crazyhouse sessions. Have you ever missed meals or appointments because you played too much? And what's the hardest or longest you've ever played Crazyhouse?
Yeah, not missing meals or appointments. Sleep, yes. Only because that's been my only opportunity when there's time is not being consumed by other people sometimes. So with family, it's when they've gone to sleep. You know, colleagues have gone to sleep, so no one's there to disturb me. So you know, it's not uncommon. You might see me still up at 2 or 3 a.m. and you know, I can see people in the chat sometimes figure out, well, what's the time in Sydney now, and shouldn't he be asleep? Crazyhouse, the longest possibly was when there was a 24-hour tournament on Lead Chess when I was more actively streaming. I can't remember how many hours I did of that 24. It would have been something like 10 of them. and I had stretched that out across different parts. But yeah, back before I had a girlfriend, when I was playing Bughouse or Crazyhouse chess, I could go a whole solid day, yeah, without eating, without sleeping. I couldn't tell you how many hours straight it could be, but you could leave me there for 8 hours, possibly easy, just straight. Yeah, today it's not so much of an addiction. I find that work, and I suppose it's with a lot of jobs, makes you think strategically how to make your next day easier, and you plan ahead, and you know you're not in a rush, and you're not blindsided or surprised by things. And I find that it kind of makes me feel dumber over time, because once in a while something does blindside you, like, you know, you have this thing called COVID that comes out of nowhere, and you've got to respond quickly and be agile in your thinking. And I try to keep up with, you know, my Crazyhouse hobby, because it forces my mind to remain adaptive and agile. Without that, work kind of pulls me into this, you know, how do you think more preparedly, and so you don't have to think fast, you can think slow, and you can make good decisions slowly. That's why I kind of force myself to stay up at night sometimes. It's a mental exercise for me.
Самый длинный турнир, в котором Джастин принимал участие, это был 24 часа, и 10 часов из них Джастин стримил. Но вообще, когда у Джастина не было девушки, он мог целый день заниматься Crazyhouse, пропуская еду, сон, все вместе. Сегодня это уже не такая зависимость. Сейчас некоторые работа требует от тебя что-то предвидеть. Конечно, иногда случаются ситуации, например, как COVID, когда нужно адаптироваться и быть гибким, и принимать быстрые решения. И как бы Джастин считает, что это как бы Crazyhouse помог ему научиться принимать быстрые решения.
Да, я тоже так согласна, кстати. Смотрите, у меня еще есть группа вопросов от Crazy Махараджа и Визуал Денниса, чисто по Crazyhouse, по психологии. И плюс еще у нас запланирована игра Джастина с супервайзером в Crazyhouse 960. В принципе, по плану у нас было, что не сыграет 3 игры, но я хочу как раз тогда разбавить, допустим, 2-3 вопроса. Игра, 2-3 вопроса, игра, и еще там в конце вопросы уже от зрителей, если Джастин не против.
And there's also a whole bunch of questions from a joint project of Visual Dennis and Crazy Maharaja, which we're going to intersperse with the Crazyhouse 960 games against Martin Elender, Hopper, if that's okay, Justin.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't understand the word that we say. Do you mean that we'll have a question and then like a game and then a question again? What do you mean by that?
Two or three, I believe, if I understood correctly.
Okay. So are we going to games now, or are there a few more questions, or you were going to save some questions until after the games? I was just trying to understand that.
I believe it goes game 2 or 3 questions, game 2 or 3 questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Да?
That's fine.
Окей.
Do I need to log on to PyChess then?
Да, давайте пока сейчас первый вопрос озвучу, пока на PyChess заходит. Как ты думаешь, есть ли в Crazyhouse особая психология и чем она отличается от обычных шахмат? Или все дело в технике?
Okay, so just one question while PyChess is loading up. Do you think there is a special psychology for Crazyhouse, and if so, is it different from ordinary chess, or is it all about technique?
A different psychology. I guess if you mean by that like mindset, I'll have to think about that. Yeah, I'll say that when I'm playing Crazyhouse, I don't play it to be winning all the way, if that makes sense. So, you know, that's kind of how we're taught chess. You know, you grind and you grind and you grind, and once you get that little bit of advantage, you just keep pressing it until you win. And you could play Crazyhouse like that, I imagine. But at the level it's currently at, I actually prefer to, you know, be at an equal position or slightly worse and have to fight my way back. I kind of get more enjoyment from the game. And you could call that a weakness, if you like, that can be exploited. But for me, that's the skill in the game, when you're actually back against the wall and you're down. And, you know, we have very strong players. We have grandmaster players that have joined in, and you can be down a piece and still come back. And I think that's quite different to chess. And it could be just that the game is still in its level of infancy still, that even at high levels, you know, the technique isn't that straightforward sometimes. So I guess that's my answer to that question, at least in terms of how I see it and how I like to play it. I just noticed that, you know, you don't even need to be a pawn down in classical chess. You can be less than that down, and an experienced player can grind another experienced player into a victory. Here you kind of sometimes have to win the game 5 times over before you've won it. And it's like that at the top. So, yeah, that's my answer to that one. Hope that makes sense. I'm just going to try to log in now. I just had...
Если сравнивать с шахматами, то в шахматах ты получаешь какое-то небольшое преимущество, начинаешь как бы поддавливать и потихоньку переигрываешь соперника. Если сравнить с Crazy, то ты можешь даже получить чуть похуже, там, иметь меньше материала. Но в этот момент ты начинаешь изобретать, искать какие-то шансы, искать какие-то слабости. И даже если ты оказываешься без фигуры, без материала, ты все равно можешь перевернуть игру. То есть как бы техника не такая прямолинейная, как в шахматах.
Угу, хорошо. Так, пока они готовятся, второй вопрос. Ты когда-нибудь задумывался о том, что Ты когда-нибудь задумывался о том, что бы ты мог назвать философией сумасшедшего дома? Философия Crazyhouse.
Yeah, so maybe just a quick one while we wait for this to happen. Have you ever thought about what you might call the philosophy of Crazyhouse?
Oh, that's a deep question. The philosophy of Crazyhouse. I think, yeah, to some extent, you can always come back. To some extent, there's always some new complexity that hasn't been seen before. I mean, you say the question is why did you stop chess where you stopped? And I think Crazyhouse and Bughouse gave, it took it away from being just a finite game. I felt chess was that it was becoming more dominated by engine study, and you know, once you were down, you couldn't come back. It felt like. So I liked this element. I do have a game started with Opperwesen, by the way. Shall I play? Shall I talk through what I'm thinking as I go? Up to you.
Джастин, по поводу ответа на вопрос, Джастин говорит, что в Crazy всегда есть возможность сделать камбэк, то есть вернуться в игру. Есть высокая сложность по сравнению с, допустим, если шахматы уже как бы всегда движок играет сильнее человека, то в Crazy и Backhouse всегда больше места для творчества. И также Джастин уже начал игру, и он спрашивает, то есть они уже играют.
Либо он зашерит экран, либо мне нужна ссылка на игру, я ее не могу найти.
Justin, how can we find your game? Maybe you share your screen.
I might try to share my screen. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, just let me know if you guys can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll talk through it. I'm just still trying to figure out where all my pieces are. That's what I'm doing at the moment. And trying to work out where they may be most useful.
Он может показывать стрелочками, кружочками, если хочет. То, как думает.
Yeah, it's Crazyhouse 960. We're playing this on pichess.org, which is authenticated the same way you get onto Lichess. Here I'm looking at the dynamics with the diagonals. You've got this bishop on A8 and this bishop on A1. I think they're quite critical. I think it's important to make sure you don't get smothered mated with something on C7 or G7 just suddenly hitting the king, but these are defended by the rooks, so there's no killer entry points out of nowhere. This is interesting. He's opened up this diagonal, but he's intending to play bishop G2, no doubt. I'm going to play knight D4. See if I'm overextended or not. So I feel like, Opperwesen's done better out of the opening here. That is, I suppose, neutralized my bishop much simpler than I was attempting to do so. I've had to put a new bishop on f6 because of this move, knight e4. Here I'm tempted just to not really think, just take e2. Just to set the king off balance. I haven't really thought much forward. I just see light squares that are opening up a bit. I'm going to take this bishop and play knight c6, just moving towards d4. So I'm down a piece for a pawn with this sacrifice, which is very much experimental. tempted to play f5. And I think sacrificing a piece for a pawn, I have to try to make some kind of justification on these light squares quickly. D5 wasn't an option, so f5 will be it. And it's sometimes hard to remember, but there's an option to castle either way. So if I take here and he takes the rook, do I have anything? I think I'll take this first. Yeah, queen takes c6 is very accurate here. Yeah, I think that's a winning move. I don't think I can afford to take. I actually meant to castle there. I slipped king f8, but I didn't. It didn't matter much there by then. Instead of bishop at g6, I should have probably castled instead.
Ладно, тогда пусть сразу сыграет, потом вопрос продолжим.
Yeah, castling in 960 takes getting used to. And Zaraz just said we'll play this one, then we'll continue with the questions.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. So we seem to play the same position as both white and black. It's funny because some days it feels like Opperwesen and I are, escaping any thread of theory to come up with a position we both don't know. So this is nice that we don't have to muck around just from move one. We both have no idea what's going on, and we can just get on with the game. So I'm going to take a leaf out of Opperwesen's book and play this g3, which allows for this discovery, but I have the knight on e3 covering c2, so I'm not going to get smothered mated. Bishop g2 is still viable.
Yeah, I mean, Visual Dennis is a big fan of and big name in 960, of course. And he and Blunderman 1 were discussing high chess, and the consensus seemed to be that the showing you every possible move when you take a piece from the pocket doesn't really add very much. And from watching the game, I can see what they mean. Anyway, I don't want to distract you.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I got a right. I can actually castle here. I don't know if it's much benefit. I may actually just castle here, I think. I just don't want c2 to be a liability.
Yeah, not being myself someone who expends a lot of effort trying to get out of book in standard setups. Perhaps the reverse, if I'm playing 960, I try to get into something like a familiar position as soon as possible.
Sure.
Inside is a good way to do that.
No, that makes sense. Here I just have to defend e2. Sometimes things that don't appear liabilities at the moment quickly become liabilities if you leave them untouched. So c2 and e2 are such liabilities I talk of that I do need to get rid of. Okay, so he's castled as well. I have an opportunity now to just place the knight here, because bishop takes d2 can't be played because of knight e7. So I figure that can't be bad to mobilize some pieces. My a1 bishop gets a life. And is actually threatening bishop takes d4 and knight at e7 mate. So it's probably another bishop on the same diagonal that needs to defend. Okay, but isn't that a free bishop? Okay, well, black can keep a straight face and say that he hasn't lost a bishop. Okay. So I choose queen f1 just because in case in future if it makes sense, there's no knight h3. So bishop at c6, just putting some more defense on g2. I'm okay with giving up the queen here for safety.
Oh, time.
Okay, he ran out of time, but
1-1.
yeah, white's got a lot of play after black lost the bishop. Okay, we can go back to questions.
Хорошо. Так, теперь... Ой, потеряла. Сейчас. Третий вопрос. Можешь ли ты классифицировать различные типы игроков в Crazyhouse? В баге Катаск делал эти категории, делил на быстрые агрессивные, медленно агрессивные, быстрые оборонительные и прочее. Есть ли что-то похожее на это в Crazyhouse с точки зрения стиля и типов игроков? Какой стиль, тип является наиболее доминирующим обычно среди топ-игроков, на твой взгляд?
Okay, so the question is, would you classify different types of players in Crazyhouse in the same way that Katask has done for Bughouse with fast aggressive, slow aggressive, and so forth? And if there is anything similar to that in Crazyhouse in terms of playing style and types, which usually dominates among the top players?
Sure, I think there's definitely styles. I think Bughouse probably has one additional element to it, which is how critical time is. So when I think you hear the word fast aggressive, you know the tempo of how quickly it's played is actually quite important because that does affect your practical chances. In Crazyhouse, it's a bit different. I think if you play fast or slow, it's really more about what time control you prefer. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect the game the same way. I would talk more about the style of the player. If you have like someone like Joannet, will always be looking aggressively. Will always find the most aggressive move in every position. You have someone like Opperwesen, I think is very creative, always looking for the unexpected move. So you have different styles. Some would say my style sometimes is defensive. I like to try to play the move that's required. Sometimes it is defensive. Jasugi as well is just like a very active style too. So I find it's quite individual in Crazyhouse. I think generally you've got to have some aggression at the high levels. You've got to try to take that initiative and never give it back. But there still seems to be room for someone like me that can play defensively and still surprise people with a different style. That's probably my answer. Initiative is important, but it's not absolutely everything either.
Бакхаус по сравнению с Crazy очень важна скорость, поэтому это влияет больше на игру, и поэтому чем быстрее ты играешь лучше. В Crazy время играет меньше, менее важно, то есть тут уже можешь выбрать контроль побыстрее или покороче, но это уже не влияет на результат. Если мы говорим о стилях, то у каждого игрока, конечно, свой стиль. Есть, например, Joannet, который очень агрессивен. Например, Opperwesen играет креативно, делает неожиданные ходы. Джастин стиль больше такой оборонительный. Жастуги играет очень активно. То есть у каждого игрока есть какой-то стиль индивидуальный. Конечно, в Crazyhouse ты борешься за инициативу, инициатива это ключ, но есть возможность для людей, которые играют более защитно, как Джастин, тоже имеет стиль по на существование.
Хорошо. Так, сейчас следующий вопрос. Видишь ли ты какую-то новую волну новых талантов или некоторые затишье на вершине?
Okay, so that would be, do you see, am I on mute? No, okay, fine. Do you see some new wave of talent, or is there a kind of a lull at the top?
I think there's always room for new talent. I think it appears when you don't expect it. That's my feel. I also still like to see that some of the old guard seems to hold strong. Whether the old school players are adapting with the times, or whether there's some guiding principles or some underlying core talent that keeps some of the traditional strong players at the top. I think there's going to be waves of talent, but if you're talking, someone to contest, the top positions, that's going to be, really the spearhead talent of the group that's coming up. So it may not appear as evident right on the top games, but I guess in contrast to what I remember from mid 2000s, like I had a period of time where I was just nearly uncontested at the top in Crazyhouse. I would kind of turn up and the closest players might have been JK the Bullfrog and All You Need Is Luft. That's their names now. But aside from a handful of players, I was probably defeating people at least 6 games to 1 in that kind of ratio. Sometimes 10 to 1, sometimes 10 to 0. And now if I log on, like I'm nearly happy to beat anybody 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. So for me, like the pool of talent is just so much deeper and broader. And so when you ask the question, is there rising talent, I think you need a tool more sensitive to detect it, because I think it's always coming up somewhere. I think the candidates is a great place where we can see, you tend to see 1 or 2 new players come through there, and they get to learn a lot, and we get to see their medal. So I'm hoping for the same this year, because I'm quite sure we'll have a few entrants that have not played in candidates before. That's my long answer to that question.
Всегда есть возможность для талантов, то есть они иногда возникают неожиданно. То есть, конечно, олдскульные игроки, которые уже знают, имеют опыт, и всегда есть новые игроки, которые с ними борются и пытаются их свернуть. До Джастина также когда-то было всего 2-3 соперника, с которыми играли более-менее на равных, а остальных побеждал с счетом 6-1, 10-1. Но если посмотреть сейчас, количество новых талантов и новых игроков намного больше. И турнир кандидатов, который сейчас проходит, это как раз то поле, на котором можно следить за этими игроками и смотреть за новыми талантами.
Да, я хотела сказать большое спасибо Джастину за организацию ежегодных этих турниров. И когда он будет опять стримить, потому что мы хотим видеть его игровые стримы, но у него нет времени. Когда оно появится?
Well, big thanks, since you mentioned the candidates, JL, for organising. And when are you going to be streaming again? Because we're all desperately waiting for this.
Good question. I want to stream, so I want to let people know it's not because the desire has disappeared or the fire is burnt out. Like there's a desire there. Look, I mean, the last week was an example. We were meant to have this get together last week, and at the last minute I pulled the plug. I said, look, we've got some bad gastro, and I was vomiting at the time, and proceeded to vomit and have diarrhea as well for the next 3 days or so, before my wife got it as well. And at the same time that I started getting sick, my son Spencer, he came down with hand, foot and mouth disease. So you get these little blisters on your tongue, and he can't eat or drink. So yeah, I think Wednesday we were actually at the emergency department with Spencer, because our general practitioner said, look, just to be safe, you better go to hospital. He's not eaten or drank anything in 2 days. So we've had a rough week just then. Just family and work just throw different things at you. So while you might still see me online playing some Crazyhouse, and I'll try to play as strong as I can, the world has a limited view of what's going on in my life, and I'm just a name that appears on Lead Chess that plays games. But life's very busy at the moment, and that was what my reason for withdrawing this year. Just that I felt I couldn't guarantee flexibility to secure particular times to play matches or to put the same effort in. So that's gone around your question. To answer the question more directly, I would love to do some live streams of some of the candidates' matches. That's what I would like to do. There was Legion Destroyer a few months ago. It actually arranged, to have a tournament where I was meant to play and do a live stream. I mean, that's a pretty good effort as well to get me on camera and get back. And I had prepared like I always do when I haven't streamed for a long time. I download my software the night before, I check things are working, I do a test recording, everything. I did everything by the book. And on that day, something updated on my machine and I could not get the button to broadcast within Streamlabs. It would just not go. It kept giving all sorts of errors, didn't matter what I did to reinstall things. And that was 5 a.m. and at the same time I think Spencer woke up when he shouldn't have. I ended up having Spencer, Bella and my wife all in the same room with me while I was trying to fix the computer at 5 a.m. in the morning. And I'm not a superstitious or religious person, but I still believe sometimes the universe tells you, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. And it was one of those moments, and my hat goes off to Legion Destroyer for organizing these events and trying to make them happen. But it was kind of around that point as well. I said, look, maybe I should actually be withdrawing from the Crazyhouse World Championship, because this is how it's going to be for any possible candidates match. I'm just going to have a circus happening inside the house. So I left it a few months, of course thinking, look, the way computers work, if you just let a few updates roll past and you just try again when you're not tired, maybe it'll work. And sure enough, a few weeks ago I tried to test out all my streaming software and I can do it again all of a sudden. So hardware, software problems fixed, just need to find some time and go out and do it. But I think candidates matches are a great way to get back on the horse. All right, you don't have to translate all of that word for word. Sorry, I just went on and on. But I hope that gives the viewers a fair answer.
Давай, Андрей, вкратце.
Джастин хочет стрипнуть, то есть желание у него есть. Ну, например, на прошлой неделе, то есть он был болен,
да.
Болела его жена и сын, они ездили в больницу. И просто происходят какие-то события, которые ты как бы не можешь вообразить, что они могут произойти. И по этой же причине, что не хватает времени, он снялся с турнира кандидатов, что он не мог быть уверен, что у него найдется время договориться на какую-то следующую игру, и в это время он сможет играть. И, например, Legion Destroyer предлагал провести стрим, то есть было подготовлено все оборудование, то есть договорились о времени, но произошел software-апдейт, и все сломалось, и он больше не мог стримить. Потом проснулся Спенсер, его сын, при этом было в 5 утра, и все пошло наперекосяк. То есть иногда такое впечатление, что у мира есть свое мнение, чем нужно заниматься сейчас, и как-то все возможности провести стрим, они как-то пропадают. Вот. Но возможно, что следующий стрим будет как раз на площадке Crazyhouse Candidates, и возможно, следующий стрим хотелось бы провести именно там.
Хорошо. Так, 5-й вопрос. Возможно, ты читал об истории Crazyhouse у Crazy Maharaj, в которой исследуется происхождение дроп-шахмата. Я не знаю, что такое дроп-шахматы. Несмотря на то, что игра пришла не от Сеги, как многие думают, Crazyhouse и Сеги разделяют одни и те же принципы. Что вы думаете? Что ты думаешь о Сеге?
You may have read Crazy Maharaja's history of Crazyhouse, exploring the origins of drop chess. There is a common misconception that Crazyhouse descended from shogi, I believe it's pronounced, but though that is not in fact correct, it's undeniable that Crazyhouse and shogi share the same principles. So what do you think of shogi?
Okay. First of all, I've not read that history, so I apologise to Crazy Maharaja, because I'm sure there would have been a lot of effort put into that. Shogi I've not played much of, but I believe I know the rules or to some extent, and it was something like when you're putting pawns back on the board, they may have to go back onto the same file from which they originated, which is it's quite different to Crazyhouse. And then I don't know, I haven't really played it enough to know the differences or the nuances, but I feel like Shogi has a deeper history already within Japan, that it's been played for a very long time, and that it may be an original set of rules, whereas Crazyhouse is this kind of offshoot variant. It's like, it feels like a few guys at a coffee house just went, hey, let's like put these pieces back on. That's a good idea. I don't really think I'm equipped to make a qualified answer to that question. I kind of feel Crazyhouse is in the hobby arena for me, whereas maybe Shogi has more, how to say, incredible history and a genuine origin to it. That's my feel.
Джастин знает, что такое шоги, то есть он знаком с правилами, но не играл так много. То есть и не читал историю от Crazy Maharaja, то есть извиняется за это. Насколько он понимает, там пешки могут ходить назад, и шоги имеют исторические корни в Японии. То есть у них какая-то есть история их возникновения. В то время как Crazyhouse, когда несколько ребят решили, давайте просто вернем все срубленные фигуры на доску. Просто делают это и как бы по фану. Вот. Но он не считает, что у него есть как бы квалификация, чтобы ответить на этот вопрос. То есть он недостаточно знаком с шоги.
Ну ладно. Так, а 6-й вопрос. Однажды в одном из чатов ты сказал, что в Crazyhouse нет миттельшпиля, только начало, которое превращается в эндшпиль. Считаешь ли ты, что необходимо как можно больше теоретизировать о Crazyhouse?
You are on record as having said at one point, I stand to be corrected, I don't know about this, that Crazyhouse doesn't have a middle game, just an opening that turns into an end game. Do you think it is necessary to theorize Crazyhouse as much as possible?
Okay, that's a lot of questions. Maybe I said it. I'm trying to make sense of it, if that's the case, what I've said. But I think if first of all, with the middle game, end game, I think as of right now, this second being awake, I think there is an opening, a middle game, and the end game. That I would more say there isn't an end game like there is chess, just because all the pieces keep flying around. But there is an end game in the sense that there's a technique towards checkmating your opponent when that means is within grasp. That's your technique, if you like. And the second part about theorizing it, does that mean opening theory, or does that mean theorizing as in classifying what stages of Crazyhouse we may or may not have?
I think maybe we should just stick a pin in that one and move on, huh?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's about opening theory, like, I've never been a theoretician on, that's not been a big piece for me. It's the creativity and the fighting that's of interest to me. That's what I think makes the game so exciting.
Если мы воспринимаем эндшпиль шахматов как технику, чтобы там учиться ставить мат двумя фигурами, например, в Crazyhouse, конечно же, такого нет. То есть эндшпиль в Crazyhouse чаще всего не возникает, потому что у тебя фигура остается в руке. А если мы отвечаем на второй вопрос, если теория в Crazyhouse дебюты, то это не его сильная сторона. То есть обычно он все ищет за доской.
Так, у нас там вопросы в чате. Если что-то есть интересное, можете читать.
Да, к сожалению, я должен буду идти через 5 минут.
Да, конечно. Мы затянулись сегодня.
I'm sorry, I will have to go, I think, in about 5 minutes. So I
no worries.
drop off soon.
That's okay. We're about 2.5 hours in.
Да, ну, скоро-скоро. Так, 7-й вопрос. Можешь ли ты описать свой процесс принятия решений в игре? Это больше интуиция, когда ты видишь вещи, или опыт, память, анализ, знание теории? Что это?
Okay, we'll have to blitz through these, I guess, because there's still another 5. Can you describe your decision-making process in-game? Is it more intuition, or experience, memory, analysis, knowledge of theory?
Intuition, I would say, is a big piece. And that was demonstrated in one of the games there. And so, look, I'm not thinking about this. I'm just going to make this move. I think, aside from intuition, there's some critical positions to calculate, but a lot of it is not from memory or seeing it many times before. There's a feel to it for me, and that's what's so enjoyable, because it makes it more like an art to play rather than a science. And as logical as I am, I like to feel that you can play with some artful moves. So that's my response there.
Интуиция, на первом месте интуиция. То есть, возможно, ты видел позицию, помнишь ее в памяти, но это скорее ощущение, как в этой позиции играть. И то есть это то, что как раз нравится в Crazyhouse, что это больше, чем искусство, чем какая-то наука.
Согласна. Так, 8-й вопрос. Можешь ли ты назвать величайших игроков Crazyhouse всех времен, независимо от того, насколько они активны сейчас? Давным-давно был игрок по имени Убийца драконов, который считался самым сильным противником Джастина в ранних фантастических фильмах. Сколько игроков высшего уровня больше не активны?
Can you name the greatest Crazyhouse players of all time, no matter how active they are now? Once upon a time, there was a player named Dragon Slayer, who was considered your strongest opponent in Parity Fix. How many top-tier players are no longer active? So again, that's about 5 questions in one, and we might have to make that the last one for time constraints. I mean, I don't think I can do the rest on my own if Andre has to go. But over to you, Justin.
Okay. All right. Well, we can make this lucky last. Yeah, Dragon Slayer was a strong player. Though I think the strong players of today will have far surpassed his level. There were some of the guys that were great, Ganeas and Fireflies. So that's old Has-Been and Zixon. They're active again. They would have been my idols. And someone like Zixon to still be competing in candidates after all these years, that's amazing. I think the other players, JK the Bullfrog, he was J Killer when he began. Another one of the original greats was Vaboris, who was Kazım Gulamali. He actually stole Ganeas' name, so the guy on Leechess with the name GNEJS, that is actually Vaboris, or we know him as Kazım. Chicken Crossroad also came in to the picture. I think and of course Cheesy Bread, or known as 12-teen, or Jasugi 99. These are some of the guys that have really been there for a long time, from the original days with Bughouse. Possibly missed a few, but I am impressed by a number of these names where they've just not faded over time. It doesn't matter who comes along, they somehow still seem to be able to remain at the top.
Dragon Slayer, конечно, был сильный игрок, но если сравнивать с топом сегодняшних игроков, конечно, сегодняшние игроки будут сильнее, чем Dragon Slayer тогда. Если мы называем старичков, то это Гнейс, Old Has Been, Zixon, JK The Bullfrog, The Boris, Chicken Crossroad, Jasugi 99. Из тех, кто пришли в голову, конечно, там есть еще много сильных игроков.
Клево. Так, 9-й вопрос. Как ты думаешь?
Это был последний, только.
This is, I think, the last one for me because I have to go. So thank you for your time. I was really enjoying the meeting. It was really interesting questions and interesting answers. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're a fantastic translator, Duches. So thank you for volunteering your time. Nice to meet you. I hope you enjoyed the time as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, see you all.
Спасибо большое, Андрей.
Take care then.
Пока.
Have a good day.
Ага, bye. Так, если есть вопросы в чате, задавайте, потому что наш стрим уже подходит к концу, но, может быть, кому-то не терпится что-то спросить. Марвон, может, ты что-то хочешь спросить у Джастина?
I think Justin's done extraordinarily well, given the time of day and stuff, and we even got a couple of games here with Martin Miranda, if I'm pronouncing that right. So yeah, I think it might be a good point to wrap it up. I don't think I can translate at the same level as Andre did just by myself. So I don't know. I mean, if you and Opera want to play more games, then that's all good. But as you said, we're over 2.5 hours now. So
yeah, I've got work tomorrow morning as well, so I don't mind going to bed here. But thanks.
Tomorrow morning or later today by your time.
Sorry.
Tomorrow morning or later today by your time.
Yeah, I would call it tomorrow morning, but it is 1:33 a.m. So it is already Monday here. But I kind of call morning as when you wake up, not when midnight passes. Yeah, but I really appreciate all the effort Zaraza has made to prepare, to reach out to other people, to pull me out of the cave, so to speak, to get me up on camera again. I just thought it's important for you guys to know that there's still a desire there. It's just that there's other things in the way, competing for my time at the moment. So we'll try to change that. We're nearly at the stages where we will see candidates. So we're just trying to push that along as an organizer to make the matches happen. They're really good matches, the ones that will be played to determine who gets in. Some tough matches ahead for the players. Yes, that's probably it for me. I've had fun. I've really enjoyed it. I was looking forward to it very much last week and quite disappointed when I was unwell. So I'm glad we got to do it today. Any last words from Zaraza?
Well, I'll just give a quick translation there. Итак, у него есть работа через несколько часов, потому что мы уже полвторого в Сидней. Итак, дальше вопросы мы можем оставить до следующий раз, но он благодарю тебя, чтобы ты сделал ему из дыра в земле.
Я поняла. Да.
Ну так, если ты хочешь последний слово сказать, ну, в принципе,
Ага, я поняла. Нет, у меня вопросов нету. Я сегодня получила массу удовольствия от общения, от рассказов Джастина, да. Где-то хотелось там слезу пустить, где-то прям умиление, где-то прям восторг от его знаний и умений. Поэтому спасибо большое. Редкий гость вообще в последнее время в интернете, но я очень рада, что вытащила тебя в эфир. Вот, и надеюсь, увидимся потом. А еще скажи, пожалуйста, нужна ли моя помощь в подготовке презентации в этом году по кандидатам?
Okay, big thanks, and before she starts blubbing, you know, she just wants to say it's great to have such a rare guest on, and she does ask if you need any help with preparing a presentation for the candidates for this year, then just let her know.
Oh yeah, I nearly forgot about that part. So we've done that the last few years. So yeah, we'll have to make time for that. At the moment I'm just looking at how many weeks we have left in 2022, and just, you know, we need to start candidates soon to allow enough weeks for the players to get to each other. So yes, it will be good to have some help on that again. And I think it's good for the players to have that warm welcome, a red carpet rollout, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you translate that back to Zaraza.
Я поняла.
Okay, she got that. Fine.
Ага.
Super.
Okay, good.
Ну все, спасибо большое, да, мы заканчиваем на этой ноте. У Джастина уже, да, там глубокая ночь, у нас вечер в Европе, поэтому спасибо большое, что пришли. Запись будет выложена на YouTube, кто не посмотрел полностью, сможет посмотреть записи, поэтому до следующих встреч, буду искать еще новых вам интересных гостей эфира. Все, пока-пока.
Thanks everyone. Full interview on YouTube if you want to check it out. Bye bye.